Thank you, Marshall. Appreciate that. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the December 11th, 2024 CalPADS Q and A. My name is Paul Higgins. I'm a data analyst working at CSIS supporting CalPADS. Moving on to announcements. Right now, the 24-25 Fall 1 submission is live. Our initial deadline is this Friday. So my biggest announcement is if you haven't done so already, resolve all your errors, review your reports, and get into an approved status prior to Friday. Thank you. In addition to that, we do have a deadline or an amendment window following the deadline that will end on the 24th of January. It is intended to be a corrective window only, not one where you're still actively working on the data. Let's see. CalPADS will be offline for updates this Friday at midnight, December 14th through Monday the 16th. So we will still be there. We'll be able to address broad questions, but again, we will not have access to CalPADS either as it will be undergoing updates. Let's see. Oh, we did receive an email today, noonish, regarding differentiated assistance. So I did download the PDF and I've been looking at it, but I'm not conversant in it, so I can't really answer any questions. But there is an email titled CalPADS Differentiated Assistance Legislation and Eligibility dated December 11th, 2024. That should have arrived in your email today at noon. So if it did not, keep an eye out on the CalPADS communications page, and you should see that going into the letters and announcements in there. It will not be a flash, but it'll be a letter. I think that's all I had. Angela, how are we doing on the fronts of bugs, builds, and general operationalness?
So no release this week. So we typically don't we deploy anything the week of a deadline. So we've patched a couple things since the last deployment on last Tuesday, but so that's the extent of my announcements, Paul.
Very good. Thank you, Angela. I appreciate that. Sean, do you have anything? Does CDE have anything in general they want to discuss this week?
Sean's
Okay.
muted, but I do. SELPA were sent the list of data quality checks on Monday. I just wanted to talk about that briefly. Validation number 22 seems to be pulling in initial pending meet records for initial assessments. Please ignore those if you run across that. Just ignore it. It was an error in our coding. They're not going to cause any issues for you. And also, please remember these are just data anomalies, not necessarily errors. Don't let working on these prevent you from certifying by Friday.
Thank you for that clarification, Dominic. I appreciate that. I was going to chasten you and say you have your own office hours, but that was a good announcement, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Unless we have anything else for the group, we're going to jump right into the Q&A box and see what we have going on over there. All right. Question one from Soraya, 3 o'clock, Q1. We are SPED question. We are receiving errors meet 0436F1 for a student that was found ineligible in a previous LEA in 2020, but reevaluated and found eligible with our LEA in September 2024. We ensured a participating and eligible SWIDS record was present. What else may be causing the issue? Our SELPA, let's see, invalid education.
So I saw a similar ticket to this earlier. And essentially what the issue was is the meet record that was being submitted was indicated as a reevaluation as opposed to an initial. So make sure that when you're holding that meeting for a student that's returning to SPED, that it is marked as a Part B initial. If that is the case, if it is marked as an initial, this may be an issue with our validation. And so one workaround that Brandy suggested would be to update your SWIDS record with a status effective start date 1 day earlier. And that should help, and that should alleviate that that issue if it is indeed marked as a Part B initial.
Very good. I appreciate that, Dominic. And Sue Ann also had a helpful note saying that she can't wait for the SPED user guide to be available to answer these types of questions.
I agree with Sue Ann, and that actually got bumped up in priority today. So we may be looking at that sooner than later.
Excellent. Good news. Thank you. Stella 301 Q1. If we have a student with 3 different SSIDs from 3 different districts, and the oldest enrollment has a CELA record of EL, the middle enrollment has a CELA of EO, and the newest enrollment doesn't yet have a CELA record, what is the correct order? Do these mid-merges should be done and have the CELA of EO deleted prior to the merge process? Would the district with the active enrollment start by merging the oldest enrollment or the middle enrollment? Well, it's a predefined process. You can select any 2 and merge them, but you are correct. You probably should address the CELA data first. Otherwise, it will get ported over and there will be a mess and you'll have to put in a service desk ticket. We'll send it up to Tom's office. They'll straighten it out, but it takes time. So clear out the EO record if it's incorrect. And then for the other one, leave it blank. Don't add a TBD or anything. But the predefined process is going to go through and it's going to locate the older of the 2 being merged, and it will be the retained one. So no matter what combination you use, if you're merging the oldest one with any of the others, it will be the retained one. And then it will just parse all the information. You can't have any conflicting open SENR data. So if you have if there's any conflicting SENR data, it will reject it. You need to resolve any CCE information. It won't allow you to resolve the mid by creating a CCE. So just be aware of that. But yeah, 3. That's fun. Good one. If you, yeah, go ahead.
I would just add that, Stella, you're probably going to want to put in a ticket for this one, just because you have the EL and the EO records, and you can't delete those. So you need to know which especially if that student has been tested for their EL record in Tom's, that's a record that still stands. And so that record should be, if it was the first record, it should be adhered to, and especially if they were tested, it should be adhered to. So you'd still need to put in a ticket letting us know after you completed those mergers. And actually, I would do it prior to doing the mergers, and that goes back to Flash. Who remembers the Flash number? It was fairly recently. Where we ask you to put in a ticket.
$286.
I was gonna go with 285, but close. Yeah, I think so. It's one of
Alrighty.
those. It's 285 or 286. We're not too sure, but it's one of those.
286 topics include impacts on assessments when moving kindergarten students back to transitional kindergarten. 285 guidance regarding transitional kindergarten and the ELAS proficiency assessments for California LPAC per the passage of Assembly Bill 2268.
One has like a table. No, it's not that one. So it's if that's 285, then it's 286. One of them definitely has a table. Yeah, there you go. So some of those apply to students, even though they're not necessarily kindergarten. And so again, so I'll put in a ticket, please. Though.
All right, thank you much.
My pleasure.
Cami 301 Q1 for third-party contracted employees, i.e. speech language pathologists, do they get reported in the staff file? Not unless, well, if they're third-party contractors and they're not your employee, so you wouldn't have it. But if they have a seed, you like to get the seed. But then if you report the seed, then you got to report the whole demographic. I don't remember. Trying to talk my way through that answer and it just didn't pop for me. Sean, do you remember?
Yeah, so you were headed down the right path. If you have the information for the teacher, yes, you would definitely go ahead and report them as they are providing a service to your students. And typically we ask LEAs to like change, or if they weren't previously doing so, to change their language. In their MOUs with different contracted people to be able, or different contracted agencies to be able to collect that information so you can report that adequately. And then there is that speech language pathology non-classroom based support assignment, which that person can be reported under. Please, 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 though, make sure that the definitions match, not just the name or the title within the code set, but the actual definition of the work that the service provider is actually providing.
Perfect. Very comprehensive. Thanks, Sean. Natasha, 302, Q1, teachers on leave with a job code 12, so a teacher. Non-classroom job code 6018 on leave, triggering a fall to SDEM 684F2 because they are not the teacher of record for any sections. How do we fix this for teachers who have permanent employees taking their place for the academic year, i.e. not a sub? All right, so if I remember correctly, when you have them on the 6018 leave, you have to also populate the full-time equivalent as greater than 0. So whatever their usual FTE would be, is that what you are reporting? Since they are not separated from you and they are still a teacher and you would have assigned them to that course, they are still identified as the teacher of record for reporting purposes, even though they are not the person in the classroom. And if they don't have a course section, they require an additional non-classroom based job assignment as well. And the reason for this, and this was explained to me last week sometime, was we're telling the world that the employee was on leave, and the world is asking, okay, on leave from what? What do they do for you usually? So that's what they want to know. And this was a CTC request, so that way for assignment monitoring, they could better evaluate the teacher assignments. That's my understanding of how this is to be addressed. Anybody have anything to supplement that with?
I do.
Yeah.
Gary, there is an
Oh.
FAQ on that.
Angela, I think this one goes, Natasha's per se, I think it goes back to the ticket you forwarded me that I just had discussions around.
Well,
So
hers was a little bit different, right? Because they approached it differently, that they didn't keep that class open. They distributed the kids out to disperse them out to other teachers.
and that's what
Right.
Natasha's is. Yeah, but that's what Natasha's is saying. She says, how do we fix this for teachers who have permanent employees taking their place for the academic year? So my point is,
okay.
I think one, Natasha, please put in a ticket. Amber Lund, if you're having the same issue, if you can please place in a ticket as well. Please include the seed number of these teachers. I also need to know, are they being employed at any point during the school year with you all? And there was something else, but it's okay. I'll follow up and the ticket. And so, Angela, we met with our team meeting today. I'm working on FAQ.
I was just going to ask, are you going to write an FAQ for that?
Yes, I
Thank
am.
you.
Like, Actively working on it. I
Excellent.
need to edit it, hit send.
Maybe we should just amend that one that's in there, say scenario A and scenario B.
We tried that. We're going to keep what's in there. We might amend part of it, one tiny section of it. But we went through all of that because there are two that are in there. And so specifically for teachers that, yes. So yeah, we're working on it.
We can always revisit the data discrepancy too, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
All
I'll leave that final one up to Randy, but I think we got it.
And I see some discussion in there. It is 100%. If they're normally 100% employee, but they're on leave, use 100%, not one.
All right, so that looks like you were addressing Becky at 308's question. Just to be clear regarding staff on leave of absence, school FTE should be 100% and the job class FTE should be 100% as well. So that sounded like the answer right there. Sorry?
Or it should be whatever that teacher normally does. So if they're
Right.
only doing 80%, then they should only put in 80%. Whatever that, just don't put the zero, whatever that teacher should actually be doing.
Understood. All right, moving on to Julie at 308. Q1, thank you, Dominic, for clarifying about the SPED data quality checks. Are these going to continue to happen for the week of certification? Is there any way to get them sooner or have a different way of checking and delivering them? They cause a lot of last minute stress when we like to have all of our reports reviewed and errors cleared weeks before the deadline.
In a perfect world, certainly, but ideally, this is data that these anomalies should have been caught before it was ever posted to CalPADS. If you're submitting plan records with a district of special education accountability that's not accurate, there's no validation for that. That should be something that's handled when you're taking a look at your data in your special education data system and making sure everything is accurate before it's posted to CalPADS.
All righty, thank you for that. Laura 308 Q1 per flash 293 staff service total years must be updated regularly. I understand how to properly do this when they continue at our LEA. However, for staff members who join us from another LEA, this is a bit more difficult. Is it possible for CDE to provide us an extract that would show us the staff's demographic records? I would then be able to support our HR department in getting this updated in a timely manner.
Thank you, Laura, for your question. And this is a really great idea. This isn't. I don't think that CDE is the best to provide this information for you all because credentialing does not. It does not fall under the purview of CDE, but instead CTC. And so also teachers that for credentialing purposes, years of service could be for an LEA that was out of state. And so you would be reliant upon the submission of other LEAs and their accuracy, which we know may not be the best. So for those purposes, is that an item that CDE CalPADS office can specifically provide with accuracy? I strongly don't believe so. But again, CTC, and so I would continue to work with your HR department to see once they're obtaining that that CTC information, such as the seed, it has like an initial start date for an employee and additional information, like if they are an out-of-state employee applying for a California credential. So they would be the best to work with from there. Kyron did provide the seed extracts. And again, you would still have to do your due diligence though as an LEA to ensure the data accuracy.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Good answers. Let's go and put that away. Oscar, it looks like you talked yourself out of a question. I'm going to leave that hanging up there just in case you weren't done and you needed something more, but it says to disregard, so I think we're done with your question. I'm going to move on. Charlene, 314, Q1. I was told that instead of 48 to 72 hours, Tom's gets updated from CalPads instantaneously. Do we have a timeline for that? I do not.
I did see that Sarah Yasin was on. Sarah, do you want us to promote you to a co-host so you can talk, or do you want to put something in chat? She does the Tom's things with Thor over at CDE.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you saw she was on because I couldn't tell. So I was messaging.
Earlier. Marshall, are you there?
Yeah, she has the co-host.
Yeah. So Sarah, you can take yourself off mute now if you want.
My wonderful Sarah is sometimes shy. So Sarah, if you're more comfortable with putting it in the Q&A, you can just type there as well too, and I'll gladly read. Okay. Paul, if you want to leave that one there for just a moment.
We'll do. We'll move on to
and
Lou and then come back to this one.
Yeah, thank you.
No
Thanks, Sarah.
problem. All right, Lou, 315 Q1. I have an admin that is normally 100% or 100 FTE, but this year is working part-time, 80% FTE. Would we report 80% FTE with job class 20 FTE on leave? My understanding of a leave of absence is you're not there. If you've worked out a deal with HR where you can reduce your hours for a specific period of time, I don't believe we would consider that a leave of absence. A leave of absence would be, I'm not coming to work for this period of time for this reason. Everybody approved it, and you're now on a leave of absence, which would then reflect your previous FTEs. All right. Oscar Q1. Okay, there we go. I'm going to disregard your other one then. Okay, Oscar at 316 Q1. We noticed a dropout in our Fall 1 1.24 report. Student was an 8th grader, was dropped the year before with a code 300 expelled. Was that the proper code for the 8th grader? I'm not aware of the student situation, so I can't say whether that was correct or not. If they were involved in a disciplinary incident where they were expelled after review by the board, then yes, that would be correct to have used the expelled dropout or the expelled code, which I believe would be what is our dropout? Is it 400, 410, something like that? I don't remember. Uh, you know what, Oscar, I'm just going to say we should probably have this in a service desk ticket so we can dig into it a little bit deeper. You know, actually get the SSID, pull up the student's file, look at it, have some background on it. So if you would, just put in a service desk ticket on it, and we'll take a look and see what we can tell you better about that. Lethea 319 Q1. If I send up a SAS file and determine that some records shouldn't have been included, can I send up a SAS delete file to delete the incorrect record, or will that count as a full replacement for my original SAS file? The SAS full replacement is based on the operational key, which includes the seed number, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, nope, just academic year, school of assignment. So yeah, I think online maintenance would be a better option to get rid of a SAS assignment or a SAS mistake. You could, if you're going to, I don't think that a SAS D transaction would work, but if you uploaded a whole new SAS file with everybody in it and with only the records that you wanted, that would act as a full replacement as well. And it should overwrite the incorrect information. So you could do the full SAS file upload again, or you could do the surgical strike with the dive in with online maintenance and just delete the single records you don't like. And I believe you can also, in online maintenance, add single records that would correct any mistakes like that as well. Doug, 321 Q1. What are the selection criteria differences that cause differences in total enrollment numbers in reports 1.1 and the 1.17 LCFF?
Doug, I love this question. Thank you. Can we slow down and show? I know you guys are showing it. Yes. Can you show them how you got there, please?
And before you jump in, Sean, Doug did send me an email, and his question is a slight twist on the one we usually get. His actual enrollment total, that total enrollment column, differs from 1.1 to 1.17, and I believe usually those should match, right?
Not necessarily, depending on the filters that he's chosen.
I just used default filters, and they did not match. The total counts didn't match.
Yeah, because the 1.17 includes the age 4 TK, and we removed TK from the 1.1 age 4 is what I'm like almost positive. Let me go to the email.
1.1 doesn't use the birth date element. As long as you're a TK, it includes it. And then
Thank you.
1.17.
Even in the
Yeah.
total enrollment column, Karen?
Right. If you take the total enrollment column, you can tell. I use the 8.1 report and filter for TKs, and you can. I'm able to find every time it's TKs that have a birth date after June 2nd, and you just filter for after June 2nd, and like they'll usually be off by 2 or 3, and sure enough, that's how I can find them.
Yeah, Doug was off quite a bit. It was a chunk, but Doug, try that. So run 8.1 and look for students who turned 5 after June 2nd. Those kids are excluded from 1.17 and 1.18, but are included on 1.1 apparently.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
All right.
And that's the part that I always get like, I know it has to do with age, but I always get confused on where it is. Thank you for all the help for Gary and Kyle though. Like,
but there, if you wanted to talk about the other reasons that those reports are different,
yes,
that there's the age, and then also the what was the other one?
The October
it's age and then it's
31st
also,
cutoff.
Oh, October
yes.
31st, that's what it was. Yeah, for socioeconomically disadvantaged on 1.1 is not the same thing as FRP eligible on LCFF. So LCFF, you can have a FRPM start date all the way up to October 31st. But for 1.1 SED purposes, that FRPM record has to have a start date prior up to census day. So July 1 to census day.
I had that ticket earlier today.
Yeah, we probably get a couple of those a day.
Yep. We're getting a lot of 1.1 and
a few.
1.17 tickets this year.
Yeah.
I've gotten a few of them.
All right, let's see here. Corey, 321 Q1, regarding the CALPADS DA email, so the differentiated assistance email, for 24-25 academic year, the memo states districts and COEs that fail to certify data by the final certification deadline will be eligible for DA. for fall 1, does this mean that the deadline this Friday, December 13th, or is it the final deadline of January 24th?
January 24th.
Final deadline.
There you go. That was easy. Eric, hey Eric, 325 Q1. If a teacher takes 2 years off for childcare, does it count towards years in education? So they're on leave, but they never separated from the LEA, so they've been employed but not collecting a check, but still actively on the rolls. I'm assuming that's the scenario we're setting up here. So long as they were employed by the LEA, I believe it counts towards the years, doesn't it?
There's an FAQ on that one, Gary. You search on sabbatical. If they serve at any point in the year, it counts as 1 year. But if they are away from the whole academic year, then it doesn't count.
I don't know how to spell sabbatical.
How about leave of absence?
Oh, you got to get into the FAQ first before you start searching it.
Oh, thanks, Paul.
Maybe you were
Thought it was
spelling it
there.
right in originally.
Maybe I was.
Then expand all.
Oh, here it
Oh,
is.
there you go.
I can put that in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you, Angela. All right, Madison 326 Q1.
Hold on,
When
Paul.
a oh, sorry.
Sorry, I still wanted to come back to Sarah's. Sorry.
Oh, good.
So
Yeah,
before you
you're up.
read, before you read Madison's, oh wait, no, Sarah, I don't see yours. Okay, I'm sorry. Go for it.
Okie doke. Madison 326 Q1. When a student transfers into our district and we adopt the transaction, we use SACE as our SEDS, the SPED setting part of the plan that was adopted and reported to CALPADS. In situations where the ed setting is different in a district than the student transferred to, for example, moving from a SPED setting that was 400 regular classroom to a SPED setting of 300 separate school or 402 correctional facility, what is the guidance or best practice in CalPEDS? Do we leave the program setting as it is in the adopted user created plan record in CalPEDS? Okay, so usually this question comes up with regard to the student aging out of the preschool aged ones. But in this case, it's the same concept. So if you're adopting the record and the student has become ineligible for that SPED program setting code, you have to change it on the adoption. So when you're adopting, they're a TK student now. Last year they were preschool, so you're adopting, the IFSP, and they had a 201 program setting code, and you put it in there, and now you're adopting it as a different plan. Change the program setting code as well. That will prevent any issues coming up if you don't get a new IEP done prior to census day. So in this case, when you're adopting it and they had 400 regular classroom and you're moving them into a separate school or a correctional facility, as you're adopting it, go ahead and change that program setting code to reflect what you're actually doing.
Okay, and now I have an update from Sarah. Sorry. Okay,
Okay, good, please.
Not a problem. Well, you're looking for the next question. So Charlene, your question was, you were told that instead of 48 to 72 hours, TOMS will be updated from CalPADS instantaneously. Do we have a time frame from that? I hadn't heard any knowledge of that. And Sarah did confirm the standard update timeframe is going to remain the 48 to 72 hours. So I'm not sure who you heard it from, Charlene, but you may want to just ask them to omit that in the future because it's not CDE information.
Thank you for that, Sean. I was interested to hear that myself. So good to hear.
Thank you,
I
Sarah,
mean,
too.
it would be, thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that. It would be better if we were getting it instantaneously, but at least we have a solid answer on this.
And our reasoning for that is because we have to allow you all time to be able to make like the updates. So yes.
Nope, completely makes sense. All right, moving on. We have Rigoberto at 3:30 Q1. This is my first fall one and wanted to check in to check if it's normal for CalPEDS to have false warnings or errors. For one of our LEAs, we have the no homeless data reported warning, but the school does have homeless programs reported to CalPADS. Also, LIP programs are being marked as warnings when it should be a fatal error. A lot of this has to do with the details. If you look at the dates being used, just remember the fall one reports data as of Census Day, which is the first Wednesday in October, the 2nd of October this year. So if your data is dated even 10/3, it won't be included in the reports. And the only caveat to that is FRPM data, which we're not going to get into. The LIP program records, I believe we relaxed that to a warning, didn't we? Or is that
Temporarily.
temporarily? There we go.
Yeah, it's when you have an English learner and they don't have a overlapping LIP program for this academic year, that data discrepancy was not triggering at all up until about a week ago. And we turned it on, and some LEAs had up to, 3,000 of these errors. So we can't do that to you a week before the deadline. So for now, it's a warning just to get us through this Friday deadline. But if you find them and you have time to work on them, definitely do, because they are on one of your fall one reports.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Clarissa, 3:30.
Sorry, I got
Oh,
a question. Angela,
shoot.
are we gonna return it back for the amendment window?
Yeah, let me check my notes. I did meet with your folks this morning. So come Tuesday, when CalPADS is back online, we are going to turn it back to a fatal. And then for LEAs that have 10 or more of those errors, we're going to ask them to decertify and reapprove after they've made the corrections.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, and Clarissa, 337 Q1. The Office of Civil Rights has shared notification with districts that they are proposing the collection of the race categories to align with the Federal Statistics Policy Directives 15 to have a new race category of Middle Eastern and Northern African, possibly as early as 25-26. What is CDE's review and action around this proposal? This proposed change has huge effects in CalPADS and data collection.
Where is this one again? Is that the MENA one? What timestamp? I'm sorry.
337.
337, and it's Clarissa.
Clarissa, so far there is no action based upon for CDE currently. We do a review. I want to say it's like every 5 years or so to best align. I am not aware of an actual race category for this one. I do know of an ethnicity category for the MENA one, and that one you need to. It's in the details are in the legislator website, and you need to just be able to read it or consult with your LEA legal teams if you don't understand the context around it.
All right. No. Angelina, 337 Q1. One of my high school sites has a teacher that left mid-year. There is a year-long course, psychology, that is a college credit, 9,200. So the new teacher that will continue to teach the class is a college professor. Our site wants to create the spring part of the class, different content, abnormal psych, with a different course code, same state code. Will this cause an error at the end of the year?
I think that was Kai.
Sorry, Paul. I accidentally typed an answer in there while you were reading it.
Yes, you did. So you get to read your answer to the group.
And I apologize.
Good
'Cause I thought it
punishment.
was timing.
All right, that is, I think, that is a
I was
good,
like, my
a good punishment for that. All right. So the question is, will this cause an error at the end of the year pertaining to the course not completed for the fall semester because of the change in the course ID code? So my answer was no, you shouldn't experience errors based on the change in codes. The spring psychology course will be reported in the end of year 1 data collection, and CalPADS doesn't compare course completion information in end of year 1 with course enrollment information in fall 2. So you should report the course in fall 2 as it was configured on census day.
Very good.
Thank you much, Matt. Appreciate that. All right, moving on to Heather at 337. Sorry to bring this one up again, but just wanted to completely clarify. If a district is not LEA approved by this Friday, do they qualify for differentiated assistance from that, or only if they aren't LEA approved, SELPA certified by January 24th?
The latter.
So the latter. It's we're still looking at the January 24th deadline. So long as you are LEA approved by this Friday, they'll pull your numbers for all the use that they were going to put it to. Was it P1 this time? I don't recall what they were doing with it. But so long as you're certified by January 24th, you will still be not qualified for DA.
That does not mean though to miss the Friday deadline, because your superintendent will still get a letter saying that you missed it. So please
Then
get your
there's
data in. Okay, if you need to amend your data, you still have that amendment window.
Okay, moving on to Tiffany 337, follow-up to Q1 to Madison Miller. Is that the same for public to private and vice versa? For example, private school kiddo is entering public school after being in private school. In the amendment, we update the plan and ed setting as appropriate. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I was trying to get my head around what we were talking about. Yes. When you're readopting that plan record, go ahead and change the program setting code.
So, Paul, just to clarify, when a student transfers from public to private or vice versa, it actually requires a plan meeting to change the plan type from 100 to 200 or 200 to 100.
Would that affect their ability to amend the program setting code on adoption?
They can, but the plan would still need further updating, because they can only be, for example, if they come from a private school back into public school, they can only be on that adopted ISP for 30 days.
Okay, and that's adopting different plan, and then within 30 calendar days of that date, they need to have a new plan in place.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, Rebecca 338 Q1 for the 1.18 report, it states, description, list of students that meet criteria for supplemental funding under the LCFF. Eligibility is based on 3 main subgroups: free and reduced price meals, foster youth, and certain English learners. Does this mean that it has to fall into all of these categories to be LCFF eligible on the report, or just at least one of them? And what does it mean to say certain English learners? And would that And with the total still not matched to the 1.17 report, like in the past, due to missing enrollment status of 20 for secondary enrollment. Sorry, I know this is 3 questions. Understood. No, you do not have to be all of those. You do not need to be an FRPM eligible foster youth English learner to be included on that report. You need to be one of those. And for certain English learner programs, it's EL students, not IFEP or RFEP or any other argument you would have that they are not EO, or EL rather. We are looking for EL students. We are looking for active foster youth on census day, and we are looking for students who have FRPM records dated between July 1st and October 31st. And
Paul,
yeah,
sorry to
please,
cut you
yes.
off.
No?
We're also looking for Adele's, not the singers, but just an Adele.
Hey, we're always looking for a good Adele out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I had not taken that into account in my answer. You're right. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, Rebecca, thank you very much for the question. I'm going to close that out now. Colleen 340 Q1. In support of Charlene, I heard something similar about the new Tom's timeline at the CalPADS and assessment webinar in November. See slide 12 in this Padlet. It states that updated data will reach Tom's and TDS by 8:30 a.m. after a nightly extract. Is this not correct?
And Sarah, you're gonna have to come off mute, baby girl, because you were there at that one
I'm
and
so
not me.
sorry.
I'm so sorry. I'm like,
Yeah, I was trying to look for this webinar myself just to confirm, but I couldn't find it. There you go. It says there.
and
That's
so is
accurate,
that,
Sarah.
yeah.
Sorry?
Is
You were
that is the
asking,
answer accurate?
Yeah, looks like it. I'm checking with Thor. He's looking into it as well.
Okay.
Is he on?
That's a Marshall question. I don't know. Sorry.
what does the slide before that say, Gary? I was half listening to that seminar, but I thought they said it wasn't implemented yet, right? It was
So,
in the future.
I'm sorry, Angela. So I checked with Thor. He's saying that 48 to 72 hours provides a buffer for system issues. So he said 48 to 72 hours is that it remains that. So
We'll ask ETS to update the
ETS, yeah.
slide.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'll check with them.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Yeah.
And I'm going to jump ahead here really quick to Shanna at 3:44 regarding Charlene's question. The Cella status timeline to Tom's came from the CalPAD. Okay, never mind. We got it. We just talked about that. Just wanted to make sure we had it all grouped together if we could. All right, so we're going to close this out. And that was the next Q1. Okay, Shanna, thank you very much. So that was just talked about. And Sue-Ann at 3:47 comment, to get your district staff demographic data for your HR department to check years of district service, do a SDEM ODS extract and put it into an Excel sheet and share it with your HR department for them to review. Good idea.
Or they can review report 4.3.
I could do that
as well.
But if they're not going to run the reports in CalPADS, you can also give them the extract too, or give them both. Inundate
I like
them.
that one. Give them both. And please explain to them when you give it to them. Because if you just give it to them, as Rebecca likes to say and Evan likes to say, they don't always speak Calpadian.
Well, come on, let's just get a little homier. Just say, bless their hearts.
That's for us to say, Paul.
All right, going back up here. Soraya 301 Q2. We see CDD plan 679 F1 on our data discrepancies tab, but not on our certification status tab. Is that an issue? Um, the Remember, we're changing all of the cert errors into these data discrepancies and certification data discrepancies because we have a more streamlined way of running those processes. So you actually see your errors in a more updated way more frequently. So the CDD job will run outside of the actual submission refresh. And that's why there's the data discrepancy tab and then there's the certification tab. The certification process requires the data discrepancy job to complete, and then it will incorporate that information into the next revision. So you'll always see a progression, and if you just keep track of your data discrepancies, you'll be, an hour or two ahead of your certification details screen. So if you're seeing something on a certification details screen that's not on a data discrepancy screen, check the creation dates, see which one is more recent. The more recent one is going to have the more recent information. If your data discrepancy job is clean, has no errors on it, and you look over at your certification screen, it will be dated prior to that data discrepancy job. And if there's still errors on it, you will know that a clean revision should be coming up. Okay?
Did you see Meredith's answer as well?
No. Oh, hey, look, there she is. Hi.
Hi.
Good answer. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, moving on to Rebecca 341 Q2. Is it the norm to not have access to Fall 2 reports until December 18th? I don't recall having to wait so long to see those reports. Is this due to the downtime this weekend, or what is the reason for going offline for 3 days? Our director was asking. Thank you. Uh, in the last few years, we've been delayed. We've kicked off Fall 1, and then Fall 2 has been delayed, so everything could be focused on Fall 1. We didn't have to split processing. We didn't have to do split developers. If there were bugs, everybody piled on in Fall 1. And we got everything ready for Fall 2 and then released it. And it was usually in the first week of January that we would activate it. So coming online on the 18th is actually about 2 weeks earlier than usual. And going offline, we are just doing some hardware mods, upgrades that we needed to take the system offline for. And if we hadn't taken it offline, we probably would have screwed something up, and we didn't want to do that. So we're taking it offline for a couple days, make sure we get it right, get it back up and running, and hopefully everything goes smoothly, and we get a moderately better system out of it.
And then Rebecca Morales from Lancaster has an excellent point that yes, submission for Fall 2, it did begin on October 2nd. And we encouraged LEAs to continue to submit that data. Your 4.3 report, I think it was made available last year or the year before. Somebody from CSIS correct me on that date. And that report is available to be able to run, and we extended that one out, particularly because we knew you needed to see it earlier. But all Fall 2, and as we noted on the calendar, all Fall 2 CVRs and certification reports, they will be available for the LEAs to view on December 18th, 2024, for all Fall 2, but some are already there.
Perfect. Thank you very much for supplementing that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll close that out. Close that out, and now we'll go back up to Soraya's 670. Okay, we actually already did that one, so we'll close that one out as well. All right, we have an empty Q&A box.
4
and
minutes.
And with 4 minutes left, I'm going to give those right back to you. You can use those 4 minutes to go and solve some fatal errors for you or a neighboring friend. One or the other. You choose. You all have a great week. Next week, I think we have our last Q&A before the holiday. Is that correct?
That's correct. And then we will be on hiatus through 2025.
All right,
Start
there we go.
back up in January. And just a reminder, CalPADS is offline on Monday. So it's Friday at midnight through probably Tuesday morning, I guess, is when it's coming back up.
All right. Be good, be safe out there, and we will see you back here next week. Thank you very much. Have a great week.